Welcome back guys. Welcome back to another video session from this channel. So in this video session we will be studying regarding excretory system. So what is excretory system and what are the various components of excretory system in detail. So let me write it on the board. So what it is? Excretory system. Excretory system. So here, prior to the explanation of the excretory system in detail, at first let us have a look regarding the term known as excretion. So what is excretion, or how we can define the term known as excretion? So here excretion is nothing but what? Separation and elimination of nitrogenous waste from a particular living organism in order to maintain constant internal environment. So here it is nothing but what? Excretion. And the system physiology which is involved in organizing the excretion, here it is nothing but what? Excretory system. So what it is? Excretion. So what is excretion here? Separation and elimination of nitrogenous waste. Separation and elimination of nitrogenous waste. Elimination of nitrogenous waste from a living organism. In order to maintain constant internal environment. In order to maintain constant internal environment. So here it is nothing but what? Excretion. And the system physiology which is involved in organizing the excretion, here it is nothing but what? Excretory system. So here the excretory system in case of humans, basically it is composed of various components, and here these components include pair of kidneys. Is it clear? Pair of kidneys, pair of ureters, and urinary bladder and urethra. So here all these are the various components of excretory system. So here, prior to the explanation of the various components of the excretory system in detail, at first let us have a look regarding the various nitrogenous waste and the various excretory products which most commonly accumulate in a particular living organism. So here the various nitrogenous waste which most commonly accumulate in a particular living organism, it include ammonia. Is it clear? Ammonia, urea and uric acid. So what are those? Nitrogenous waste. The various nitrogenous wastes include ammonia, urea and uric acid. Urea and uric acid. And in addition to these nitrogenous waste, occasionally in particular living organism, it also eliminates certain excretory products. Certain excretory products like carbon dioxide, water and certain ions like sodium, potassium and as well as chloride. And even in particular living organism, it also eliminates certain inorganic compounds. Inorganic compounds like sulfate and as well as phosphate. Sulfate and phosphate. Is it clear? So here, if we consider the specific ammonotelic organisms. Ammonotelic organisms. So basically the living organisms, they are successfully classified into three different types based on the elimination of the nitrogenous waste. And here these specific living organisms include ammonotelic organisms ureotelic organisms and uricotelic organisms. So what are those? Ammonotelic organisms, ureotelic organisms, and the other one is uricotelic organisms. So at first ammonotelic organisms. So here out of these many nitrogenous waste like ammonia, urea and uric acid, ammonia is highly toxic in nature. Is it clear? Ammonia is highly toxic in nature, and whereas urea and uric acid, they are less toxic in nature. And here if we consider the specific ammonia, the specific ammonia or ammonium, it is having more number of hydrogen atoms. If we consider the ammonia or ammonium, it is having more number of hydrogen atoms, and as we all know, hydrogen is electropositive in nature, but whereas the oxygen atom, which is a part of the water molecule, it is electronegative in nature. So here, due to the presence of two dissimilar charges, it leads to the strong attraction. So the reason why ammonia, it is highly diffusible in water, and here in order to eliminate the particular ammonia from a living organism, it takes the advantage of huge amount of water. Is it clear? And here the specific living organisms which most commonly eliminate the nitrogenous waste in the form of ammonia. So here they are termed as what? Ammonotelic organisms. And here the best examples for the ammonotelic organisms, they are nothing but what? Aquatic insects and as well as amphibians. So what are those? Aquatic insects and as well as amphibians. In order to eliminate the ammonia from a living organism, kidneys, they do not play any important role, because the specific ammonia, it is capable to diffuse through the skin surface, and in addition, even the specific ammonia, it is capable to eliminate or it is capable to excrete through the gills. So the reason why here, in order to eliminate the particular ammonia from a living organism, kidneys, they do not play any important role. Without taking the advantage of kidneys, ammonia, it is capable to eliminate from a living organism. And in the same way, if we consider the specific living organisms which most commonly eliminate the nitrogenous waste in the form of urea, and here these living organisms, they are termed as what? Ureotelic organisms. And the best examples for the ureotelic organisms, they are nothing but what? Terrestrial organisms which consume very less amount of water. Terrestrial organisms which consume very less amount of water, and even certain marine organisms. Marine organisms. So here once when the accumulation of ammonia in a particular living organism, when it reaches to elevated levels, under such condition, the liver cells, they induces the synthesis and secretion of certain enzymes, and here these enzymes which are secreted by the liver cells, they play an important role for the successful conversion of ammonia into urea. Ammonia into urea. So here for the successful conversion of ammonia into urea, here the enzymes which are secreted by the liver cells, they play an important role. So in this way, the liver cells, they play an important role in organizing the detoxification mechanism or the detoxification process. Is it clear? In the same way, the specific living organisms which most commonly eliminate the nitrogenous waste in the form of uric acid, and some specific living organisms, they are nothing but what? Uricotelic organisms. Likewise, the ureotelic organisms, even the specific uricotelic organisms, they consume very less amount of water. So the reason why here the specific uricotelic organisms, they eliminate the nitrogenous waste in the form of pellets. And the specific living organisms which most commonly eliminate the nitrogenous waste in the form of uric acid, they are termed as what? Uricotelic organisms. So here the best examples for the uricotelic organisms, here it is nothing but what? Birds and as well as snails and even the reptiles. So let me write it on the board. What it is? Birds, snails and even the reptiles. And if we consider the specific excretory structures in case of the various living organisms, so here the various excretory structures in case of the various living organisms, they may range from certain tubular-like structures like protonephridia, and even it may range to the complex structure like kidneys in case of certain vertebrates. Is it clear? So let me write it on the board. So here let me arrange the things first. The various excretory structures in case of the various living organisms. So here the various excretory structures include they may range from simpler tubular-like structures, tubular-like structures like protonephridia in case of invertebrates, in case of certain invertebrates. And in addition to the certain invertebrates, even the specific protonephridia they are observed in case of the certain living organisms like rotifers. Is it clear? In case of certain living organisms like rotifers, and even in case of certain cephalopods like amphioxus. So here the specific excretory structures which are most commonly available, here they are nothing but what? Protonephridia. So here the specific protonephridia, they play an important role in regulating the fluid volume balance. That means in order to regulate the osmoregulation in case of the certain living organisms like invertebrates, so here the specific protonephridia, it plays an important role. In the same way, in case of certain living organisms like earthworms, so here the specific excretory structures which play an important role, they are nothing but what? Nephridia. So what it is? Nephridia. So here it is the excretory structure in case of earthworm. And in addition to this, in case of cockroaches, Malpighian tubules, they play an important role. They play an important role in eliminating the nitrogenous waste. And even the some more other excretory structures, they include certain green glands. Green glands are antennal glands in case of certain crustaceans like prawns. Certain crustaceans like prawns. Is it clear? And as I have already mentioned you, the excretory system in case of humans. So here we are much more concerned only regarding the excretory system in case of humans, but not about the other excretory structures. So here the excretory structure or the excretory system in case of humans, basically it is composed of various components, and here these components include pair of kidneys, pair of ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. Is it clear? So let me write it on the board. So here the excretory system in case of humans, it consists of pair of kidneys, pair of ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. Is it clear? So at first we will be studying regarding the pair of kidneys. So here what are the pair of kidneys here? So here if we consider the specific kidneys are a pair of bean-shaped organs which are present on either side beneath the thoracic segment and as well as the third lumbar vertebrae. Is it clear? So what it is? So here kidneys are nothing but what? These are the bean shaped organs. Bean shaped organs which are present on either side. Which are present on either side. Is it clear? And here the specific position of the kidneys. So here the specific position, here it is nothing but what? Retroperitoneal position. Retroperitoneal position. So what is the meaning of retroperitoneal position here? That means always the right-handed side kidney, it is present on the lower side in comparison to the left-handed side kidney. It is because of the presence of liver on the right-handed side. So here due to the presence of liver on the right-handed side, the right-handed side kidney, it is present on the lower side in comparison to the left-handed side kidney. And here the specific position, here it is termed as what? Retroperitoneal position. So here the kidneys are a pair of bean-shaped organs. They are present on either side beneath the thoracic segment and as well as the third lumbar vertebrae. And here the specific kidneys, they are present in a specific position, and here the position is nothing but what? Retroperitoneal position. It is because of the presence of liver on the right-handed side. So here due to the presence of liver on the right-handed side, the right-handed side kidney is present on the lower side in comparison to the left-handed side kidney. And here the specific position, here it is termed as what? Retroperitoneal position. And here if we consider the dimensions of the human kidney, so here the length of the human kidney, it is around 10 centimeters. Is it clear? The length of the human kidney, it is around 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters, right? And the breadth of the human kidney or the width of the human kidney, it is around 5 centimeters. Width of the human kidney, it is around 5 centimeters. And the thickness of the human kidney, it is around 2 centimeters. And if we look at the structure of the human kidney, most commonly the outer surface of the human kidney, it is convex. The outer surface of the human kidney, it is convex, and whereas the inner surface of the human kidney, it is concave. So here the inner surface of the human kidney, which is nothing but concave, here there is an availability of a specific notch-like projection, and here the specific notch-like projection, here it is termed as what? Hilum. What it is? Hilum. It is the notch-like projection which is responsible for the successful passage of certain blood vessels. So here for the successful passage of certain blood vessels like renal arteries and as well as renal veins. What it is? Renal arteries, and the other one is renal veins. So here renal arteries, they are responsible for carrying the oxygenated blood, and whereas renal veins, they are responsible for carrying the deoxygenated blood. And if we consider the layers of the human kidney, the outermost layer of the human kidney, here it is nothing but what? Cortex. And the innermost layer of the human kidney, here it is nothing but what? Medulla. So here in case of the medullary region, there is an availability of many number of cone-shaped structures. So here the specific cone-shaped structures which are present in case of the medullary region, here it is nothing but what? Renal pyramids. What are those? Renal pyramids. Is it clear? Renal pyramids. So here, so let me arrange the things first. The outermost layer, here it is nothing but what? Cortex. And whereas the innermost layer, here it is nothing but the medulla. Outermost layer of the human kidney, here it is nothing but what? Cortex. And whereas the innermost layer of the human kidney, here it is nothing but what? Medulla. So here in case of the medulla, there is an availability of many number of cone shaped structures which are nothing but renal pyramids. Cone shaped structures which are nothing but renal pyramids. Renal pyramids. So here all these are nothing but what? The renal pyramids. So here within the renal pyramids there is an availability of many number of minute projection-like structures which are encapsulated within the particular renal pyramids. Is it clear? So here in case of the medullary region there is an availability of many number of cone-shaped structures. So here these cone-shaped structures they are termed as what? Renal pyramids. So here within the renal pyramids there is an availability of many number of minute projection-like structures. So here these minute projection-like structures they are termed as what? Nephrons. What are those? Nephrons. Minute projection-like structures. Projection-like structures in case of the renal pyramids. So here it is nothing but what? Nephrons. Nephrons. So what are nephrons here? Nephrons are nothing but what? The structural and the functional unit of the excretory system. Is it clear? So here all the renal pyramids they aggregate together and it leads to the opening of renal calces. So let me write it on the board. Renal pyramids aggregate together to open renal calces. So here renal calces it leads to the opening of renal pelvis. Renal pelvis. And renal pelvis it leads to the opening of ureters. So the next specific component of the excretory system, here it is nothing but what? Pair of ureters. So what is pair of ureters here? The specific pair of ureters, they play an important role for the successful passage of the nephric filtrate from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. So here in order to carry the specific nephric filtrate from the kidneys to the urinary bladder, so here these ureters they possess certain peristaltic movements. So here by taking the advantage of certain peristaltic movements, here the nephric filtrate it successfully passes out from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Is it clear? So let me write it on the board. Ureters are responsible for carrying the nephric filtrate. From the human kidneys to the urinary bladder. And here these ureters they contain peristaltic movements. And the length of the human ureters it is around 30 centimeters. Length of ureters, it is around 30 centimeters. Is it clear? And the next specific component of the excretory system, here it is nothing but what? Urinary bladder. So what is urinary bladder? So here the specific urinary bladder, here it is nothing but what? It is an median pear-shaped structure. Is it clear? So here the specific urinary bladder, it is a median pear-shaped structure and it is responsible for the temporary storage of the urine. And here basically the neck portion of the urinary bladder, it possesses or it lead to the opening of what? Urethra. So here the neck portion of the urinary bladder which successfully opens the urethra, it is enriched with two specific sphincter muscles, and here these specific sphincter muscles, they are nothing but what? External sphincter muscles, and the other one is internal sphincter muscles. Is it clear? So here these external sphincter muscles and as well as internal sphincter muscles, they play an important role for the contraction and as well as the relaxation of the urinary bladder. Is it clear? And the next specific component of the human excretory system, here it is nothing but what? Urethra. So here it is nothing but what? Urethra. So what is urethra here? The specific urethra, it is responsible for the passage of the urine. So here the specific urethra, it is not only responsible for the passage of the urine and even it is also responsible for the passage of the sperm during the copulation. So here during the sexual copulation, for the successful passage of the sperm or for the successful emission of the sperm into the vagina of the female reproductive system, here the specific urethra, it plays an important role. Here the urethra, it is having dual functions. Is it clear? So here all these are the various components of the excretory system. And as I have already mentioned you, the specific excretory system, basically it contains certain minute projection-like structures which are suspended in case of the renal pyramids. And here these minute projection-like structures, they are nothing but what? Nephrons. So here what are nephrons here? Nephrons are nothing but the structural and the functional units of the excretory system. And if we consider the structure of the nephron, basically the structure of the nephron, it has two differentiated components. What are those? One is Malpighian body and the other one is renal tubule. Is it clear? So let me write it on the board. So if we consider the structure of the nephron, basically the structure of the nephron, it has two differentiated components, and here these include Malpighian body, and the other one is renal tubule. Is it clear? At first, if we consider the Malpighian body, so what is Malpighian body? Basically, the specific Malpighian body, it has two differentiated subcomponents, and these include one is glomerulus and the other one is Bowman's capsule. So at first, if we consider the specific glomerulus, so here the specific glomerulus, it possesses or it contains two different blood vessels. So what are those? One is the efferent renal arteriole. What it is? Efferent renal arteriole. Which is having wider diameter, and whereas the other one is efferent renal arteriole, which is having the narrow diameter. Efferent renal arteriole, which is having the narrow diameter. So here the efferent renal arteriole, it is responsible for the entry, and whereas efferent renal arteriole, it is responsible for inducing the exit. So here both the efferent renal arteriole and as well as efferent renal arteriole, it remains in association with bunch of blood capillaries. So here these bunch of blood capillaries, they are nothing but what? Glomerular capillaries. Is it clear? So here these glomerular capillaries, they play an important role for the successful interconnecting of the two blood vessels which are nothing but efferent renal arteriole and as well as efferent renal arteriole. So here on the outer surface of the bunch of blood capillaries, here there is an availability of minute pore-like structures. So here these minute pore-like structures, they are nothing but what? Filtration slits or filtration pores. Is it clear? So here glomerulus it contains efferent renal arteriole which is having wider diameter, and it is responsible for inducing the entry, and whereas efferent renal arteriole it is having narrow diameter and it is responsible for inducing the exit. So here both the efferent renal arteriole and as well as efferent renal arteriole, it remains in association with bunch of blood capillaries, and here these bunch of blood capillaries, they are nothing but what? Glomerular capillaries. On the outer surface of these particular capillaries, there is an availability of certain filtration slits or filtration pores. So here these filtration slits or filtration pores, they play an important role for inducing the filtration. Is it clear? On the outer surface of these particular capillaries, there is an availability of small minute pore-like structures, and here these small minute pore-like structures, they are nothing but what? Filtration slits or filtration pores. Beneath the particular blood capillaries, here there is an availability of wider cup-shaped structure, and here the specific wider cup-shaped structure, here it is nothing but what? Bowman's capsule. So let me write it here. What it is? Bowman's capsule. So here the specific glomerulus in association with Bowman's capsule, here it is termed as what? Malpighian body. Is it clear? And in addition to the Malpighian body, the structure of the nephron, it also contains one more other specific component. Here it is nothing but what? Renal tubule. So here the specific renal tubule, basically it has three differentiated components, and here these three differentiated components, they are nothing but what? Proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule. Is it clear? So let me write it on the board. So the specific component of the nephron which is present beneath the Malpighian body, so here it is nothing but what? Renal tubule. So here basically the renal tubule, it has three differentiated components, and here these three differentiated components, they are nothing but what? Proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule. So let me write it on the board. Renal tubule, basically it has three differentiated components, and these include proximal convoluted tubule, or it is simply abbreviated as PCT. So here proximal convoluted tubule, or in other terms it is known as first convoluted tubule, and the next specific component here it is nothing but what? Loop of Henle, which is U-shaped structure. And the next specific component of the renal tubule, here it is nothing but distal convoluted tubule, or it is otherwise known as second convoluted tubule. So at first, if we consider the proximal convoluted tubule, so here the proximal convoluted tubule, or in other terms it is simply abbreviated as PCT. So here the specific nephric filtrate which has successfully formed by taking the advantage of certain filtration slits or filtration pores, now here it successfully enters into the proximal convoluted tubule. So from the proximal convoluted tubule, now the nephric filtrate, now here it successfully enters into a U-shaped structure, and here the specific U-shaped structure, here it is nothing but what? Loop of Henle. Is it clear? So here the specific nephric filtrate from the proximal convoluted tubule, now here it enters into a U-shaped structure. So here the specific U-shaped structure, here it is nothing but what? Loop of Henle. Which is an U-shaped structure. So here the U-shaped structure, which is nothing but the loop of Henle, it acts as a mediator in between the proximal convoluted tubule and as well as the distal convoluted tubule. So here by taking the advantage of the specific loop of Henle, both the proximal convoluted tubule and as well as the distal convoluted tubule, it remains in association. So here the specific loop of Henle, it has two differentiated components, and these include one is the descending limb. So here it is nothing but what? The descending limb of the loop of Henle, and here it is nothing but what? The ascending limb of loop of Henle. So here very adjacent to the ascending limb of loop of Henle, here there is an availability of what? Distal convoluted tubule, or it is simply abbreviated as DCT. Is it clear? And as I have already mentioned you, in case of the specific Malpighian body, so here in case of the glomerulus, here there is an availability of two specific blood vessels, and here these specific blood vessels, they are nothing but what? Afferent renal arteriole, which is responsible for inducing the entry, and whereas efferent renal arteriole, it is responsible for inducing the exit. So here the specific efferent renal arteriole which successfully exits here. So here the specific efferent renal arteriole, it opens into a network which is nothing but what? Peritubular network. So here the specific efferent renal arteriole, it successfully opens into peritubular network. So here the peritubular network which successfully passes very adjacent to the loop of Henle. Is it clear? So here the specific efferent renal arteriole, it opens into a peritubular network. So here the specific peritubular network, it passes very adjacent to the loop of Henle, and here it is termed as what? Vasa recta. What it is? Vasa recta. So here the specific peritubular network or vasa recta, it is widely spread out all the components of the renal tubule. So here the specific efferent renal arteriole which successfully opens into a peritubular network which is otherwise nothing but vasa recta, it is widely spread out through all the various components of the particular renal tubule, and here it is responsible for the successful formation of hypertonic urine or the concentrated urine. So here from the distal convoluted tubule, now here it leads to the opening of the specific collecting duct. So here it is nothing but what? The collecting duct. From the collecting duct, it leads to the opening of renal calcices. From the renal calcices, it leads to the opening of renal pelvis. So from the renal pelvis, it leads to the opening of renal ureters. So from the ureters, the specific nephric filtrate, it successfully enters into the urinary bladder. From the urinary bladder, it leads to the opening of urethra. Is it clear? So here this is regarding the specific excretory system in case of humans. So here the various components of the excretory system and what is the function of the various components of the excretory system in detail. So here I hope that this video will help you a lot. So if you like this video, just hit the like button and share it to your friends. And I remember you people to subscribe my channel for getting more and more videos what I make day to day. Thank you.